There was one customer saying, okay, this is super cool that you are talking about our challenges and our problems and not coming up with a solution or a product, because you always thought you know what I need, but you never asked me, right? I'm pretty sure I know pretty good what my problems are.
Welcome to a brand new episode of our podcast, Human and AI, Minds, Machine, and the Gradient Descent.
Thanks for tuning in to our geeky podcast, where we discuss the fascinating field of AI and machine learning, corporate craziness, passion for technology, and the role of humans. We are Uli and Avery, your hosts for this episode.
True.
In today's session, we're diving deep into the art of driving innovation towards excellence. We'll explore topics ranging from the coolest company anniversary present and generative AI to the cutting-edge development of industrial copilots. And if that wasn't impressive enough, our guest is also juggling all of that while pursuing a PhD, all while staying remarkably grounded. Our CEO has even called him a brilliant AI expert. We are thrilled to welcome none other than Erik Scepanski to the show. Erik is an innovation manager at digital industries at Siemens, and he usually works on really, really cool stuff. So let's get this dialogue started. Erik, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Erik, welcome to the show. I think you're the most exposed current times PhD I've interacted with, right? And maybe for the audience out there, let's kick it off with our favorite aspects, the hashtags. What three hashtags would describe you best?
Ooh. Hashtags. I need to say innovative.
True, innovation, all right.
Mm-hmm. I would say curious.
Curiosity, all right.
Mm-hmm. And happy.
And happiness, that's pretty cool. We're recording here on a Friday in the middle of the AI lab, actually, and it's a sunny place, so I think happiness shines out here on the table.
Definitely. Almost weekend.
Speaking of places and maybe unexpected places, right? If we dive in innovation, you are working in innovation management, right? So is there any secret spot, hidden place where you say like, this is where you draw the inspiration from?
Yeah, the train actually. going to work, the train, I try to just get my stuff together, get my thoughts on stuff that I need to think of, and the train is actually pretty good. I like to look out of the window, and this works quite well in the morning, not in the afternoon after work, not at all.
All right.
Right before work.
So with headset on and then just
music,
wandering with the minds. Okay, cool.
So next recording, we should do it on the train.
On the train.
And have a very long journey.
What kind of music is on the headphones then?
Trance music.
Trance.
Yeah.
Okay, trance guy. All right. Didn't know that. So, Erik, you're writing a PhD in Siemens. Why is that? Why would you write, or what was the reason that you said, like, you know what, I'm not doing the academics, I'm not staying at the university, I'm not, just going direct, but the hybrid aspects. What was the driver there?
I was working for Siemens from the beginning, right? So I started a dual study with Siemens, bachelor's, dual masters. And then after that, I said, okay, I want to continue also in the academic field. But I don't want to go just to university and research stuff that is maybe not relevant. And that's why I said, okay, a industrial PhD is bridging the gap, right? So from industry to academia and bringing the knowledge from academia to industry, both ways. And I found this really interesting, and to see also the implications of the research in the real life.
Cool. So bridging the world between real world applications and state-of-the-art research. Super cool.
And maybe that's also the secret sauce for like your track record of innovation. because you not only work in innovation excellence, but you also went on quite some cool innovation journeys. And maybe you can take us along for a ride. So why don't we start with a pretty significant birthday party, the Siemens 175th year anniversary. Could you maybe share a little bit? What was that about?
I think in 2022, Siemens turned 175, right? And yeah, we prepared something for the birthday party, so it's pretty cool to turn 175, right? And we came up with a technology which was pretty famous at that point in time, NFTs, so blockchain technology, non-fungible tokens. I teamed up with Uli and some other colleagues, and we worked on a nice concept how we can use this new technology to create a great birthday present for Siemens and for the guests of the party. It was super nice, and yeah.
Can you maybe guide us a little bit through how did that process look like? And I guess it wasn't that easy, like 2022, that was still like shortly after COVID, I'd say. So like getting out of that time and then also like handling such a novel technology. And then I guess like the pressure was also pretty high at that birthday party.
We started the whole journey not with the birthday party in mind, when I remember correctly. So we started just seeing a technology, creating value in different other industries, right? In music, in the arts community. And we thought of how can we bring this technology to our Siemens world and create value for us or for our customers. And then it was a super flexible, super fuzzy process in the end, providing those NFTs to the guests of the 175th anniversary party. It was completely new for all of us, right? So in the private space, we worked with NFTs. We at least Uli and myself were a bit into this technology, and then we try to bring it to Siemens.
And I think that's I think that's the essence of a bit of your role as innovation management. So there is this fascinating technology, a distributed ledger. Everybody talks about blockchain. Everybody talks about digital assets and how we can leverage it. A lot of buzz. Everybody's like, blockchain, whatever, right? But distributed ledger, okay, I got the concept, right? Should we apply it for IP? Should we apply it for communication? Should we apply it to how do we make use of value actually to customers? And I think this is where you and your team, someone is like, okay, let's get started. Let's explore this capability about how we can actually utilize it. We need to have some kinds of assets, some kinds of digital assets in there. What is this asset, right? That should be stored on a distributed ledger. And I think your team makes great efforts, and it's like, let's be open-minded, be creative. Let's don't stop it. And I think a couple of hurdles, right? Because it's if you embark such new concepts, right? What is the legal implication? What is the company implication? I think you maybe you guide us a bit through the structure. What kind of different work streams, right? One can set and say like, okay, we create an NFT and we will present it, give it as a present to famous CEOs in the world, right? This is in the end the deployable objects, let's say, right? But what happens in the background is quite amazing, right? Maybe you can guide us a bit through the journey for the last 3 months prior.
Yeah. So to be honest, I can't tell you what all happened. It happened so much. So many people have been involved. It was a cross-functional team, as you said, legal colleagues. Then we had compliance colleagues. So many different departments, technology departments, business departments. All great people working on a completely new topic, and some of the stuff was unclear from the beginning, and we try to get evidence. So what can we do? What can't we do? How do we want to? How can we make it work somehow. So many people involved, really many people, but the legal the legal issues were the most pressing. Yeah, how can we as Siemens create NFTs without being a emitter? Was it? I can't recall it. It was super complex. We had great experts in the field there guiding us, and then we had technological challenges. How can we, come up with NFTs in a short amount of time? I think it was 6 months as well. So super new, super complex technology. We have experts in the field, but it was, the first ever NFT release by Siemens. And we always need to make sure that it works in the end, right? We are a technology company, and this was, tough. And then a lot of communication inside Siemens, also outside Siemens. What do we want to achieve? The sustainability issue that we see with some of the blockchains. There were so many hurdles, but we had experts who tried to target each and every hurdle and remove those barriers to be successful in the end. But the cross-functional team was the secret sauce actually in the end. So we started like super fresh and just some innovation guys trying to do some technology or work on some technologies, and in the end it was a huge team.
Yeah, that sounds like quite a slippery slope, having to combine so many different angles and perspectives and being in such a high pressure greenfield environment at the same time. So you said like one of the factors that led this innovation process to success were the people. What else comes to your mind, or what held those people together through those challenges along your way?
The collaboration between the people, because you can be an expert in one field, but the collaboration between the experts was key. So a legal expert is not an expert in blockchain technology, and bridging the gap and bringing those people together is like super crucial. And they might never meet each other in a normal setting, but in those innovation topics we can bring those people together and really create something new. And this is super crucial, and I see it for all the projects I'm in. We need to involve the different departments, the different expertises to really create something new, something cool. You can't do innovation in your room alone. This is not going to work.
Does it work on the train?
Sparking an idea does work, but this is just the starting point always, and then you need to go out and talk to people, get feedback on your idea, and get support, right? So it's always a teamwork.
And I think it's I thought it amazing what, from the different aspects that you touched on. So it was like 2-3 years ago now when this journey started, and you came up like, we need to put something on the NFTs actually. So it was generative videos, right? And then we saw like, why not talking to Historical Institute, go in there and say like, let's digitize somehow the historical assets of the Siemens Historical Institute as the innovations that have been in the past, and put them in AI, and let's say a Gen AI aspect very early 3 years ago is in generating movies, right? And if I now look, so in the end, every NFT that has been minted somehow, right, had a small video sequence of what was perceived as an historic assets in there, reimagined by a Gen AI. If you look now, what has been generated 3 years ago, and you see now the capabilities of what Gen AI in terms of movie generation, because in the end they were small movie clips that we automatically generated through AI, right? If you compare now the quality.
Crazy.
What's your thought on that?
It's super crazy. I had a look at the NFTs like 2 weeks ago, and I was thinking exactly the same. Like so much has happened. Now you have like photorealistic movies just by prompting, and yeah, back then it was a bit glitchy. The quality wasn't that good, but also pretty cool. But yeah, the technology moved super fast, super fast. And back then we weren't thinking of creating movies out of just a textual input, right? And it's such a high quality.
Yeah. I thought also in preparing for the podcast, right? I put on. We still have one, of these NFTs, because in Siemens you could apply for it, right? And then you get, you have distributed certain kinds of a limited set of NFTs, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. It looks like now something out of a museum from 30 years ago, right? And then you look on, on a bit of, what happened actually 3 years ago, and you see, Sora coming out from OpenAI, right? It was photorealistic, almost like physics, right? In this aspect, it's just pure text translation, right? So there's this 80% translation between, textual representation and viable output, movies, textuals, codes, and we'll touch on that in a second, right? Is amazing on the one side. So I feel a bit of mixture between, okay, that's a museum entry now, or I'm a bit of more embarrassed about, right? What is this? But the journey that you embarked on, what does it actually mean? We had discussion with legal about who owns licensing about images race. How do we prevent financial losses to an organization? Are so foundational in terms of in this fast manner which you run structure. So it's kind of nice how you maneuvered such a broad set as different disciplines throughout this innovation journey.
And it helped us to grow our network, right? So I met people I talked to in my recent projects, right? So those people, you always talk to the same people or same departments for legal clarification, for compliance and all that. And it helped me to get in touch with them 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and now I'm still in contact with them, creating something new.
Yeah, creating something new may be the segue, and right, talking about GenAI significantly turned into some crazy buzz. Back in the days, small niche Python codings, notebooks that we, using first services that are exposed. And then the November 22 momentum happened. Everybody was talking about ChatGPT. And this, was already where you are actually on the road already to the next Sackwagon, right? Which is now called the industrial copilot, right? Can you a bit about the initials, what's the industrial copilot is now about, and how is the connection to GenAI?
Yeah, do you remember how it all went? You can tell way better, right? When we all started that.
So I think we were discussing what happens after now we did generation of movies, let's say, and clips, and it's like, for what could it be of value? And then we thought, like, it looks like the text translation is super awesome and the code generation pretty awesome. Exactly. And this is where you picked it up, right?
Yeah. You pointed me towards code generation and said, this is super interesting. Have you had the chance to have a look at the GitHub Copilot back then? And I was impressed from the beginning. And then we started to think of how can we bring it to automation engineering. So not Python coding, but somehow SQL coding or stuff like that. And then we started interviewing customers, and we already got great feedback from most of them, not all. And you built the first proof of concept with your team. And all of a sudden they released ChatGPT, GPT 3.5 back then.
The November momentum, right?
And everybody was talking about it. So I was on vacation in December. They released it in I think, end of November. And when I came back from vacation, everyone was talking about it. So, and then we thought, okay, we already had some interviews. The feedback was super good. We already experimented a bit. and then we accelerated, right? So we tried to bring this technology to our automation or to our industry and to automation engineering.
So what is, maybe for the audience out there, which maybe not, aware of what SCL, what ST is, right? What exactly is that, and why is this of value to customers?
Every machine, so everything that gets produced, everything that you carry today might have been produced by a machine, right? And as I'm an innovation manager for factory automation, and we create PLCs, basically controllers, HMIs, and all that stuff that is necessary to control a machine and to produce stuff. And you always have sensors and you always have motors and all that. And between those sensors and the motors, you have some kind of logic to produce the stuff that you want to produce. And this is done by our automation engineering environments such as TA Portal. There you need to create some code. So when this happens, do that. And this is not that easy. It takes a while to learn it. It's repetitive and challenging. And that's why we said, okay, are we able to use GenAI technology to improve the code generation process and the whole automation engineering for our customers? And that's the starting point for the industrial copilot.
Yeah, super cool. And then you was to showcase a bit of Hannover Fair, which is obviously important to see, make it things tangible, but also engage early with the customer, see like, is this of value? Because it's still fuzzy, right? And then you matured the application, and now I think the branding of industrial copilot is quite heavily there, specifically to what Siemens positioned as industrial grade. Can you reflect on what does that mean?
Yeah, so what we saw in the beginning, and you were heavily working on the Copilot back then for Hannover Messe 23. We saw a lot of hallucinations. You weren't able to trust what the results were, right? And that's exactly what we try. When we're using technology, we want to make the technology industrial grade, and specifically for industrial AI, it's all about robustness, reliability, and trustworthiness. And we always try to shape those technologies in a way that our customers can trust the results. It's not always perfect. It's not about always being perfect. And for the people in AI who are listening and are familiar with GenAI, it always generates different results, but you can safeguard it in a way, and you can make sure that it's not that flexible anymore. And we are using a lot of simulation, and we test the models and evaluate them to make sure that they work in a specific area, and our customers can rely on the results. Not 100%, so it's always a template, but it's a good starting point, and it doesn't destroy everything that you did before that.
What you just were alluding to is that generative AIs can also be prone to hallucination. What about the topic of data privacy? Is that something, because especially in the industrial context, customers might be very focused on also keeping their data. So how do you address that?
Yeah, over the past 2 years, I talked to a lot of customers. In total, we had over 200 interviews, and it was super cool, super interesting. And data privacy is something that is on top of the mind of almost every customer. It's not like they don't want to share it. They just want to have a, let's call it guided approach, right? So you need to make sure that the data isn't available for the competition. So yeah, different tenants in the cloud maybe. Just take the data that is really necessary for the Copilot. Don't take IP. You have different approaches in TIA Portal where you can hide some blocks and some code which is really your IP, some crazy codes that are the core of your machine, and make sure that this isn't available to those models or to the Copilot. But I see a change in the market, right? So as long as the value is big enough, customers are willing to share data. Yeah, not all of them. It's as always, some of them are willing to share, some of them aren't. But to really progress in an industrial space, you need to share data, and that's why we focus on this topic and try to build systems our customers can trust.
So help us to understand. So there is an idea, there is a showcase, and then there's a development, and still there is then somehow, obviously you work in a large organization, then there is a bit of an innovation process to it, right? How do you run through that? There seems to be a concept like validation engine, right? Can you guide us a bit through how do you mature now from an idea, from a demo, from a prototype, from a showcase, towards to and I heard the release is arising, right, into the productivization. How is this journey then? Maturing this kinds of things. Can you?
Yeah, the validation engine is one part of our overall innovation framework, and we start by strategic foresight, the strategic framing, then concept ideation, preparation, and so on and so forth. And then we take in specific customer problem. So in our case, automation engineering, and the repetitiveness and the problems that our customers are facing in this area, take it into the validation engine. And we then talk a lot about the problems and where are the value areas, where do you spend most time, where do you see repetitive tasks, so how can we help you in those specific areas? And this is most of the problem market fit, right? Do all of the customers have a problem with automation engineers? Do they have a lack of skilled labor and all that? So we validated that in the first place, and then we moved on to the solution space. So how can we solve the problem? And this was where GenAI came into place. So how can we use the technology and an industrial copilot to solve the pressing challenges of our customers? The lack of skilled labor, the need for increasing productivity. And in the second phase of the validation engine, we validated the solution market fit, so that our customers are looking for a solution like the industrial copilot. And then we started to incubate the whole thing. We moved it from the technology and innovation department I'm working in into our businesses who are responsible for all of our products, such as TIA Portal or our controllers. And they started to really develop a product out of the proof of concept. So you need to walk through the PLM life cycle or the PLM process. And in the end, we came up with a product, limited functionality, good starting point to iterate on that. And we will see a product.
Woo!
Woo! Congrats!
Super happy.
And what you were just explaining now was that you should really start by falling in love with the problem and considering all the implications there. Is it even a problem? Who has that problem? Before you even start thinking about a solution or even a technology. And then from there, you mentioned earlier, you talked to over 200 customers to validate if your solution also fits into the market, which is also very, very interesting. How did it feel for you to go out with that very raw idea to customers and discuss that with them? Because at least from what I learned, it wasn't like the typical Siemens approach, but I feel like this is where we're headed to, that we talk to customers even at an earlier stage where things aren't perfect or perfectly defined yet.
Yeah, it's a mindset shift at Siemens, to be honest. So many of our colleagues still think, okay, I need to prepare everything and I need to have a product in place and then I can talk to the customer. I need to invest a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources. And then in the end, I have something and then I can show it to the customer and he will love it, or she. And I really like the approach to talk to customers in an early phase, also about their problems, not only about their solutions, because what some told me, and I can't recall the company or the name of the customer, but there was one customer saying, okay, this is super cool that you are talking about our challenges and our problems and not coming up with a solution or a product, because you always thought you know what I need, but you never asked me, right? Mm-hmm. And you always came up with a solution, and but I'm pretty sure I know pretty good what my problems are. So they were super grateful to be in the process super early and to be able to guide us in the development and in the concept creation of the solution. And this was super interesting. Not all of our customers do like that. Some of them are still looking for solutions. Okay, you're talking to us without having something. This is not worth it. But many of our customers are super grateful to be involved in the early phases and that we show that we care about their problems and not only try to sell stuff in.
So it's also pretty valuable to identify lead users early stage and then incorporate them into the innovation process.
Definitely.
What I also wonder is, we all have a lot of great ideas and it's easy to talk about ideas, but how do you really go about productizing them, like at where you are at now at that stage? So do you have some best practices that you have found effective in expanding these innovations beyond just POCs or the pilot phases?
Yeah, it's always teamwork, right? So I'm working for technology and innovation. This is a department which focus on the innovative stuff, the proof of concepts, the evaluation of the fuzzy front end of the innovation funnel, and getting stakeholders and product teams on board early and interact with them was super, super helpful, because they already knew what we were up to, so where we were heading, and then it was easier for them to take over the concept, the finished concept or the finished proof of concept, and make a product out of it. So you need different skills for these different phases. In the beginning, it's all about exploring and trying stuff and talking to customers and the fuzzy front end, as I said. And then it's all about just developing and just getting things done, right? So in the beginning, it's all about defining how it could look like, and then you need to have people who can just deliver. And these are different mindsets. And I talk to the people in our segments who are responsible for the products, and they said, or some of them said, it's super inspiring to see that you're working on topics and you throw away stuff. Like you work on a topic half a year and then you need to throw it away. So it's not what I would like to do, because I don't want to throw away stuff, but that's part of innovation, right? You can't be successful each and every time. You need to throw stuff away because it doesn't resonate with the customers. It's maybe also not feasible, or there is no viability for such an innovation. And yeah, so you always try your very best, but in the end you need to.
That's a difficult one, is it, right? So we all fall in love with the problem. We all love technology, and that's why throwing up and say, like, okay, kill this project, right? Yeah. Kill this initiative, kill this idea. Even though you see people, a passion for that, burning for that, right? But what kind of best practice can you give the audience out there, right? How to kill a project? How many projects have you killed, and how to kill a project?
Oh, that's a really good question. But I want to ask you a question, right? So
we asked the question.
Bring it on. Come on.
So you're working on a project.
Yeah.
And all the evidence that you collected, you talked to customers, you did some technological tests and all that. Mm. The evidence shows it's not worth it, because it's not solving a customer problem. It might be not feasible. You can't make money out of it. Do you want to work on a project which is super cool from a technical perspective, but doesn't provide value to anyone? Do you want to spend your time on such a project? Sure. Or do you want to make a difference out there, right? And I really believe that people want to make a difference, many of us, and they don't want to just do stuff that it's not worth it. And that's what I always try to convey to our developers, to our project leads, to my colleagues, because I think in the same direction. So I won't work on the industrial copilot if I think that it's not worth it. It's not, it does not solve a customer problem.
So making this transparency and having this honest discussion with the development team, with the R&D team, with the software team, sets the context and the scene why certain kinds of project maybe not, pursued, needed to pivot, or you need to fold it in, right?
Yeah. And I think they need to decide in the end, right? So the project team needs to decide, okay, we don't want to move on with the project because we can spend our time and efforts somewhere else, way more valuable.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in, but it's also the day-to-day when you're in innovation, right? Another big topic that also rises in the field of innovation, but also affects people working in any other field, is the topic of learning and development. And right now, since GenAI is also such a big topic out there, people are always on the lookout to develop themselves and to learn new things, to stay ahead of the curve or of the hype. So yes, since you've been driving so many cool things and you're in touch or exposed to different customers and to the newest technology, I feel like, what are some tips and tricks that you would give to professionals out there, to people out there that want to further develop themselves?
In the GenAI space, you mean?
In the GenAI space.
So what's really fascinating to me is our agentic workflows. This is super inspiring.
Why is that? What exactly on that?
So we started to build a proof of concept with agents that are capable of testing PLC code, right? So you have PLC code and then you want to create test cases for it. And we just said, dear agent, please test this code.
That's very kind, actually.
Yeah, we're always pretty kind. And we said, okay, please test the code. And the agent has the capabilities to use different tools, such as the GenAI capabilities of creating a description for a code, then creating test code for it, and automatically running the tests with some testing software. And the results were pretty fascinating, because although the model wasn't super good in creating the normal code that we tried, it was super good in describing what the code does, and then it created pretty good test code, because the test code is not that complex, and then it ran all the tests, and you can think of iterating on the results and all that. And we have a lot of repetitive tasks that we don't want to do, that we just want to outsource to somebody. Maybe small agents out there.
Small agents, small little Santa little helpers.
Exactly.
Bringing robustness and trustworthiness in such complex OT environments.
Yeah.
Okay, super cool. So we touched about, the awesomeness of using generative AI years ago in the NFT and non-fungible token space. We talked about, leveraging generative AI in terms of the industrial copilots for engineering, for operations, providing, automation code. We talked about, the fascinating field of somehow how do you move through an innovation factory by the validation engine. But we haven't talked about the role of generative AI for your PhD. So, are you using GenAI for your PhD? And to be, joke aside, obviously, that's a role as well, right? In your research, would be curious to hear. And second aspect, can you dive a bit, at least share a bit of, if you have all these side hustles or main hustles doing this awesome project, how dare you still being able to write a single paper for your PhD? Can you share a bit of your PhD story?
Yes, I can. I'm using GenAI for my PhD, starting from constructing the overall structure of a paper. So how do I want to convey the story? Just by structuring it. It's pretty good at that. But writing papers, you can't use GenAI. It's not allowed, right? Yeah. But GenAI had a huge impact on my PhD, right? So I focused on analyzing AI ecosystems and how different companies or entities work together to create value, deliver value, and capture value, right? So super interesting stuff. And then all of a sudden, GenAI was there, right? And now it changed completely, right? So you have those big companies like OpenAI dominating the market, and it completely changed. So the ecosystems look way different. Not small companies working together and creating value and delivering value to customers. It's more of a platform business right now. And this changed everything in my PhD thesis. So the overall story, collaboration to innovate, still holds true.
That's the main thesis, or the main topic of your thesis, right? How to collaborate and ecosystem play in AI?
Yeah, exactly. And this still holds true, but the ecosystems aren't that big anymore. So you have some main players like Microsoft, AWS, some application provider, and then a customer. And what we saw back then was like super many many companies working together and providing a small part of a value proposition. And now you have models which are capable to generalize over tasks, and you do not need to involve as many companies to develop or to create a value for a customer. And this was super interesting to see the impact of such a new technology. And
So you started over your PhD, or is that part of the process of the thesis, why you write how the ecosystem changes over time through technology disruption?
Yeah, so the plan is to investigate it in one of the papers. But I will describe how the past looked right? So those papers are already finished. And then I have a look at how GenAI changed it. So this is at least a plan. And it changed it in a way that AI is all around and everybody's talking about it, and that we are able to create value in a short amount of time. Yeah, back then it was a bit more difficult to get value out of AI, right? It's still a problem, and it's still, we still see challenges, but the capabilities, the generalization capabilities of those models are crazy. And you can think of almost every use case, but you need to adapt it to your use case, and this is still still difficult.
And how do you see that most of the recent developments in AI, or most of the recent disruptions, mainly came from those private companies, as opposed to academia or academic or public institutions?
It's super difficult. But what I like, or what I see right now, so Llama 3.1 was released a few days ago, and to see that at least open source models are, they are as good as those closed source models, right? So it's great to see that at least the open source community is keeping up with those open AIs out there. It's difficult when you ask the question about universities, for example, because they don't have the resources. It's all about computation, all about financial resources, and they don't have it, right? And we see a lot of venture capital going into OpenAI and all those companies, and universities aren't built for that, right? And they can't keep up with the computational needs and the financial needs for training huge models. Hopefully they will be in the race when it comes to smaller models and domain-specific models, because I think it's crucial to have the race open and to really have a glimpse into what is in the model. So you can't trust the model if you can't look into what it's trained on, and
Yeah, but I think that's an important factor. Why large corporates should contribute to the open source community and moving the field forward. They profit a lot from the open source community, and one could say from Meta, vice versa in terms of the aspects, not commenting on that, but I think the contribution on open source, releasing these large scale models is, of high value to the entire AI community. And so though, people and organizations and startups are able to somehow utilize such large scale models, which cost millions over millions actually to train, in order to generate and validate smaller models, right? And maybe that's the good option, right? Innovating in the AI space for academia, go down to efficient models, go down to, maybe not doing the benchmark papers on foundation models, right? Exactly. But, coming up with new approaches. Maybe that's a healthy disruption as well.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, definitely. Focus on your strengths, right? So your industry knowledge, your domain knowledge, and try to create value in this area without competing with those big names.
And I think with that, we need to move on to the very end of this session. Erik, it was such a pleasure having you. Thanks for stepping by. But before we finish off, we want to play our signature game with you. It's called Authentic Autocomplete. It's a little bit like ChatGPT, so you should be familiar with it. So up front, I can tell you that it will be great fun. And it will require a little bit of your agility, but since you work in innovation, that's a joke, right? So for the closing, I'll give you a couple of sentence starters, and you can finish them. Are you in?
I don't know.
Okay, I take that as a yes. So GenAI is?
Cool.
That's precise, small. That's right. Yeah.
AI agents are?
Super cool. The future.
The future. The industrial copilot is?
A product.
A product, yeah.
Cool.
Wow. And innovation is?
Exhausting.
Exhausting. That's a real answer.
So maybe the last one. If I can invent one rule the world to follow, it would be?
Be kind.
Be kind. Erik, thanks so much for your time spending with us here, leveraging about GenAI, PhD, doing innovation in a large organization, right? Thanks for being such an open, collaborative, and passionate mind.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
And folks out there, check out Erik on LinkedIn, connect with him, right? Follow up his YouTube appearances and his messages around. So and obviously stay bold, committed, and open-minded. And we hear us next to the Siemens AI podcast. Cheers.